I bet many people say that they've had a stalker. Some old guy gets onto the exact same bus as you every day. That kid in the back of the lecture theater that always eyes you up with the same leer. The customer that always happens to be passing through when your shift is on. But mine's different. My stalker is real, tangible fear wrapped up in a human-sized package. Mine has been following me for 10 long, painful years, and always has a way of making my life just that little bit worse. My stalker is the closest thing to a psychopath that I've ever known. Psychopaths, you see, always manage to get people on their side. It began when I was 8, and I had just started a new school. I'd made a few friends that week, and we were all cradled in a circle giggling about some new toy a girl had brought in. That's when she appeared. I knew her. I'd seen her around, but she wasn't in my life much. So I hadn't thought much of her up until that moment. She stormed straight up to the group and shoved me aside, declaring that Catherine is a stupid loser. It took all of 30 seconds before the sheep-minded girls were copying her mocking tone. I didn't ever manage to shake the loser tag. My dad, dear of him, he tried to help. But he was lost at sea as much as I was, drowning in horrors that I wouldn't be able to understand for years to come. When I was 10, she stormed into the house just as Dad was finished making dinner for us. She screamed and cried and threw the soup at me, and my dad did little to stop her. I was in the hospital for a week with the burns. The scars have never faded. When I was 13, I tried to take my life for the first time. She appeared then in the hospital room and grabbed my freshly bound wrists. The words of hatred that she spewed sneered themselves into my skull. And it was only 6 months until I was in the same hospital bed. I tried to report her to the police at age 15, but they laughed it off. They just told me to run back home and quit my teenage angst. That was enough to send me into a spiral of depression so intense that I didn't leave my bed for a week. There were many more encounters with her, each one just worse than the last. I blamed my dad for not stopping her, but I didn't see just how fragile he was too. We all lost contact when, on my 16th birthday, he lied and told the police my bruised and broken face was the result of a drunken frat boy that he couldn't identify. Moving in with my grandparents did little to stem off the flow of attacks, although they did try. But with no evidence and the lack of my father's backbone, there was little that they could do. In fact, the attempt from me to avoid her only made the torrent of abuse worse. Whispered rumors in the halls at school of botched abortions, seances, and satanic rituals brought the little reputation I had left crashing below. Any job I went for was rejected out of hand. Even the colleges in the county seemed to have caught wind of my character flaws. My stint as inpatient genuinely helped me. Even though my therapist saw my stalker as a delusion, he gave me an arsenal of coping mechanisms. I'd even accepted the medication, willing to do anything to help me. Eventually, I was accepted to an out-of-state college with a decent scholarship program. And my grandparents were all too happy to have me off their back. Part of me thinks that they believed some of the lies that she told. The first semester of college was always how I imagined it to be. Cooped up as a youngster at home, I'd watched, read, and marveled at all the amazing things the teens away from home used to get up to. I was feeling so great, I even stopped my meds. I had friends, a new life. I was successful. But as with most brilliant things, the clouds soon covered my happiness. A letter. Such a simple thing has brought me so much hell. I want to see you, is what it said. Soon after, a wave of packages, parcels, phone calls to my roommates and friends and colleagues with details of my made-up past came flooding in. It took some convincing, but they eventually realized that this woman's concern was actually a thinly veiled attempt to ruin my life yet again. I know you're probably reading this, and it'd be naive of me to think that after 10 years, my footprint on the internet would be left alone. I've taken back control this time, but I'm not sure how many more times I can try. I'm sick of the abuse, of the lies, of the hell you've put me through. It's time people were on my side. So here's to you. Mom, you're a psychopath, and you need to leave me alone.